Hi everyone, today we're going to have a look at how to create a flowchart from an equation and a little bit of vice versa. You might remember that we talked about the difference between an equation and an expression in our last lesson. Just remember that an equation has an equal sign, so that's what we're dealing with today. And you also might see something a little bit funny here that we've talked a little bit about, but if you look at the front here, we've got this equal sign here at the front, rather than at the back where we normally see it. So in algebra we often see that one. They'll often have the answer here at the front, or the outcome, or what we're going to talk about called the output here at the front, and then they're going to have an equal sign, and then they're going to have some sort of sum to work out to do after that. So when we look at this, when we do this one here, what we look at is, we look at this, so what we have is here is we have an output, so the output's what we get for the answer, so that's going to be like a y. Okay, we have an input, which is going to be the other unknown that we have, which is the x, and then we're going to plus 1. So we'll jump forward and see how we can do that one next. So here we have a function machine. So on any machine here, you'd remember these from primary school. We used to use them quite common. Some teachers use them a lot more than others. So let's just put something in here. So let's just say in here I'm going to put a times 2. Okay, so we have our input, so we put in here, so we have our input where we might have 4 goes in, and so our 4 will go into the machine, it'll times it by 2, and it puts something out at the end, and it'll come out at the end, it's going to be 8 might come out at the end. Right. So obviously then that also applies to algebra, so if we keep the same things where we had before, where we had times 2, but this time we're going to put an unknown in, so let's just call it x again, because that's the letter we've been using the most. So if we had x times 2, well at the end we're going to get x times 2, or as we also like to write that, 2x if we're going to call it what we need to do it properly. Alright, so it's pretty straightforward. You remember those function machines we would have seen before. So then we look at how this is going to work then. So we have an input and we have an output. So our input's going to be x, our output at the end is going to be y, and of course what our function machine is going to do is going to add 3. Right, let's try the next one. So the next one's a bit more confusing because there's suddenly 2 things we need to do, and if you're already guarantee you're hearing that BODMAS song in your head going around. So we keep it exactly the same. Our input's going to be x, we're going to start with x. Our output at the end is going to be y. Okay, and then the first thing we're going to have to do is, well, we have to follow what BODMAS tells us to do. So we're going to times it by 2. And that'll give us 2x. So we can already see we've done the first part of that. Then if we go on to the next part, next thing we have to do is take away 4, and that'll give us y. Alright, so you go over the page. Now it's your turn. I'm going to hit pause here, and then I'll go through the answers at the end. Write these into your books, and then we'll check the answers before we go. Alright, so welcome back. Hope that wasn't too hard or wasn't too difficult for you. So again, we'll just keep what we're doing before. So here we have the input and the output. Okay, and this time we're just going to times by 3, because remember 3x is 3 times x. This time we've got 2 steps to do, very similar to last time. We've got an input and we've got an output. So we're going to make it up. First step we need to go is times 5, so we would get 5x, and the next step we need to do is then take away 7. Okay, this is probably the tricky one, and I can see lots of you might have slipped up on this one because I know we had dramas with this when we did this before. But again, we follow the same process that we've had before. So we've got our input and we've got our output, but this time we've got brackets in it, and we know those brackets mean that we have to do that thing first. So this time we're going to plus 11 to give us x plus 11, and the last thing, once we've found that, then we're going to have to times by 2. So be a bit aware of that one, because that one's a little bit tricky. Okay, if you're having any more dramas, there's a page in the Pearson text you can go to there. There's some ones that will teach you about flowcharts, give you some more examples to do, and there's also a YouTube video here that you can have a look at. Hopefully that's working, and then if you've got any more questions, come and ask me after class.